Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Guys, we are over 800 subs. If you're new to the channel, then I want to take the time to welcome you to the channel. I do gameplay videos and reviews. And to all the old members, welcome back, and I hope you're doing good. And with that being said, let's start the video. So today guys, we're going to be reviewing Starfield. Now, I'm going to start off by saying this. I actually enjoyed Starfield, but it's not the game that it was hyped up to be. And honestly, I think people got so caught up in the hype and forgot that this is a Bethesda game. And Bethesda has been following the same formula for years. All their games have loading screens and the same creepy bug-eyed NPCs that just sway like a tree in the wind. And let's not forget the bugs. It also didn't help by the way the game was marketed to be something it's not. And a lot of people took what they showed and the vague answers that Bethesda said to create their own versions of this game in their heads. Some people wanted it to be like No Man's Sky or Star Citizen, and really forgetting that this is the same company that made Fallout 76. And y'all really thought that they was about to come out of the woodwork and make the greatest space game ever? And I think that's where people messed up at. They think that this game is a space sim, and it's not. It's an RPG that has a space theme, and that's all it is. Comparing it to other space games when all those games like Elite Dangerous and Star Citizen's goal was to make a space sim, so it's just kind of random at itself to compare it. Starfield is a good game, and it seems like with this game it can only go two ways. Either the greatest of all time, or it's trash. Like, why can't it just be a good game and just leave it at that? That's the real question here. Let's talk about the story. So, I'm not going to spoil the story, but basically you're a miner who found an artifact and had a vision. Not too long after you find it, you're met by a man named Barrett, who invites you to join Constellation. From there you meet your crew members and start your journey to find the artifacts. Now the story does take a little bit to pick up and go, but honestly I didn't really mind it as much, and though the pacing was not the best and took way too long to get good, but it kind of helped introduce you to the other members. Now, it's no Skyrim and how Skyrim started off epic, but if I wanted Skyrim, I would just go play Skyrim. Heck, it's been resold on like every platform like 15 times now anyway, so it's not hard to find. Now, just like in every Bethesda game, the main story is not the main highlight of the game. It's usually the side content and the exploration that keeps you going. And with this game, it's pretty much the same thing. Well, sort of the same thing. The side content is really good. Let's talk about the world. So technically we're dealing with the universe here and multiple planets. Now, the world is not seamless. You can't fly from one side of the planet to the other side. Honestly, this didn't bother me because I never did it anyway in any of the space games I've played. And most people that are probably complaining about it don't even do it in the space games that they play. Now, not saying that there probably is some that do, but me personally, I don't have time for that.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
The way the world works is that they have tiles that you load into, and it generates a space with POIs for you to explore and find loot in. And the loot is very generous. Now, I do have some gripes about the loot and inventory space, but I'll save that for my con section. Now, like I said, the planets are not seamless, and if you keep running in one direction, you'll eventually hit a wall, and then have to fast travel to another section of the world. Now, I haven't tested this out myself because I'm not about to be on here running for 40 minutes just to see if I can run around the world or not. I've never really cared that much about that feature anyway, because I knew this was going to be a typical Bethesda game, and every Bethesda game has loading screens and a wall somewhere. It doesn't matter even if it's hidden by a mountain or something, there's still a wall somewhere. So once you fly to, actually fast travel to the planet, they give you different options. You can scan the planet for resources, or you can choose from a location to land on, or click any of the part of the planet to land anywhere and let the game generate a space for you. I wanted to talk about the space exploration too, but honestly it's kind of non-existent. I mean, there was somebody who flew 7 hours to a planet from one side of the map to the other, only to end up flying through the planet. But you literally just fast travel to every planet, and each time you do, it's followed by a 2 to 3 second loading screen. But I'll talk about this later. Let's talk about the gameplay. So if you've played any Bethesda game, then you will know how the gameplay works. You pretty much can go and do anything you want as soon as the game lets you free. And there's a lot to do. There's so many NPCs to talk to that give you quests to do so. And there's so many planets to explore and collect resources from. I remember I had some contraband on me, went, did something completely different, forgot that I even had it, and ended up going to a system that had space police that scanned my ship. Before I know it, I was in custody and given an offer that I couldn't refuse. Now, I'm not going to spoil it for you, so yeah. But the game has a lot of moments like that, and it really shows off Bethesda's great side content that they make for every one of their games. There's a lot that they put into this game, from scanning planets to ship and ground combat, and so many side content to complete. I also really love the character customization and the ship customization too. Both of them were really in depth, and I spent hours just making my guy and trying to learn how to build a ship. This was probably one of the best features that they had in the game, but it does take a long time to get money to do so. They made this game so that you can play it for a long time. I really like the skill tree that they have in the game. Now, it feels very limited when you first start the game, but over time when you unlock more perks, you start to get really strong and the game really starts to pick up, especially the combat. Which actually brings me to my next part. Let's talk about the combat. So there's two different types of combat in this game. There's ship battles and there's ground combat. The ground combat is really good. The moment-to-moment gunplay is fast and exciting, and every battle I got into was a blast, especially after getting more perks to do more damage or to boost over an enemy with your jetpack. The ground combat was the best that Bethesda ever did, and there's a lot of gunfights. When you land in an area, they have different POIs that have a bunch of enemies for you to kill, and some have some really good loot for you to get also. The ship combat was just okay. The controls were pretty responsive, but until you get a good ship, the combat can be a little daunting, since your ship is so much weaker than most of the other ships you fight. And if there's more than 2 enemies, you might as well run, because you're gonna die. The ship combat wasn't really my favorite part of the game, but what they did have was decent enough to get by. They also have it to where you can board ships if you take out the enemy's engines. This part was actually pretty cool. But I did run into a couple problems with it that I will talk about in my con section. But yeah, but after you board the ship, you can kill all the enemies and steal their ship, so you can keep it or you can sell it. And I highly suggest steal a ship, since your ship isn't the best when you first start out. But like I said, I had a problem when trying to steal ships, which brings me to everybody's favorite part. Let's talk about the cons. Okay, so I'm gonna say this. This is Bethesda's most least buggiest game, but there's still bugs in it though. Now, I didn't run into a lot of bugs, but the ones I did were kind of annoying. Like whenever your guy would sprint and then boost with your jetpack in third person, your guy would turn his head to like the left and start running in a sideways motion and make targeting really annoying. The other bug I had was when no matter what Sarah was wearing, she sounded like she still was talking through her helmet. The other bugs that I had were just some minor clipping here and there and some other audio issues. But those were the ones that I came across the most. My second con is the lack of any real space exploration. Now, it didn't bother me too much, but it made you getting in your ship kind of boring because all there was to do was just ship battles and traveling to space stations. And for those, all you had to do was just click a button, go into a loading screen to dock, and then boom, you're there. And since there's no real exploration, all you're doing the whole game is just fast traveling from place to place, which is kind of boring on the immersion side of things. My third con is the main story. It took really long to get into the swing of things. Now, I didn't mind the pacing too much, but holy crap, it took hours for the game to really let you loose and do what you want. And it didn't help that the game gets good after so many hours, when I was hoping that it was just good from the start. My fourth con is the reuse of POIs. When you land on a planet, you will see the same POIs over and over. Sometimes the same enemies in the same exact spot over and over. Plus they reuse enemies over and over. There's not really much of variety. My fifth con is the inventory space. Holy crap, I never had enough space for anything. Even after I dumped everything into my chest at the lodge that had an infinite amount of space, I just never had space to hold all the items that I wanted. It didn't matter if I put it in my ship, gave it to a crew member, or anything. You would never have enough space. They really need to lower the weight of items or something because it gets kind of annoying. My sixth con is when I was trying to steal the ship. I loaded in there and there was no NPCs in there at all, so I wasn't able to steal the ship. I wasn't able to access the console or anything. But when I left out of the ship, it flies away. I was like, wait, what? Overall, I like Starfield, and I do like what Bethesda has done with the game. I just think that the crazy hype and bad marketing for this game really killed it for people. This is one of those games that I have to say, forget the review scores and just play it for yourself so you can judge the game. But from bug-eyed NPCs to great combat, I give Starfield a 8 out of 10. I really suggest you try it for yourself and making your own judgment on it. But let me know down in the comments below if you're having fun with Starfield or you think it's boring. And join the Discord, link in the description below.